It was 2:47 a.m. in Baltimore, Maryland, when Mafia boss Elias Kwan realized his wife wasn't coming home. The city outside his penthouse window pulsed with red and blue police lights. Another turf war he started. Another night written in blood. But none of that mattered. Welcome to Obsidian Crown Stories, where love is tested in the shadows. Truth is never simple, and every heart carries a secret. If you're ready, let's begin. Not tonight. Not when Naomi Carter, the woman who once waited up for him with warm tea and sleepy eyes, had stopped waiting and started leaving. Elias had spent years ignoring her. Years convincing himself that silence was safer than vulnerability. That distance protected them both. That feelings would make him weak in a world where weakness meant death. But the silence he created had become a graveyard. And tonight, he finally realized he might be the only one buried in it. He slammed the glass of whiskey onto the marble counter, his jaw tight, breath uneven. He wasn't a man who panicked easily, but something about Naomi disappearing felt like a threat he couldn't negotiate or shoot his way out of. Then he saw it. A letter. Folded neatly, placed on the table where she always left his dinner. A dinner he never touched. He opened it. His hands shook. Elias, I don't know how to love you from this distance anymore, but I'm still trying. He froze. This wasn't the first letter. It wasn't the second. It was the 10th. 10 letters. All dated. All written over the last year. All hidden in places he never bothered to look. His knees weakened. He had pushed her away for so long that she learned to speak to him in silence, because silence was the only language he listened to. But she was done whispering into the void. She was leaving breadcrumbs, and he hadn't followed a single one. Naomi Carter never fit into Elias Kwan's world. She wasn't born into crime, didn't understand blood oaths or territories, or the price of loyalty. She believed in people, in forgiveness, in second chances. Elias believed in survival, in power, in winning. She used to sit beside him while he worked, her presence soft like a prayer. She brought him meals he didn't eat. She kissed him goodnight even when he didn't respond. She waited by the window until the sky turned pink. She kept showing up until she didn't. The night she stopped showing up was the night she came home at 3 a.m. with flour on her clothes, red eyes, and a smile that didn't reach her soul. He didn't ask where she had been. He never asked anything. But he noticed the smell, sweet potato pound cake. The scent lingered on her hair, her hands, her breath. And for the first time in years, Elias felt jealous. Not angry, not possessive. Jealous. Because someone else was feeding her peace. Someone else was giving her something warm. Someone else was listening. There was only one person bold enough to warn Elias. Jada Monroe, Naomi's best friend. The woman whose mouth had no brakes, no filter, and absolutely no patience for Mafia nonsense. She confronted him once outside Naomi's bakery job. Elias, she said, arms crossed, your wife is drowning in a marriage you stopped swimming in. And when she finally lets go, don't you dare act surprised. He walked away. He shouldn't have. Because Jada was right. Naomi was slipping from his hands, one quiet day at a time. The mother with scripture and side-eye. Naomi's mother, Pastor Lorraine, had warned him too. Every visit, she sat in his living room quoting scripture with the kind of side-eye that could pierce Kevlar. A hardened heart, she would say, is its own curse. He pretended not to hear. Now her words echoed louder than gunshots. At the bottom of the stack, he found the oldest letter. The first one she ever wrote. If you ever decide to see me again, really see me, I'll still be here. But love doesn't wait forever. His vision blurred. For the first time in his ruthless, violent life, Elias felt fear. Real fear. He grabbed his coat, his car keys, and every letter. Tonight, he wasn't the Kwan Mafia boss. Tonight, he was just a man who might have already lost the only thing that ever mattered. And he was finally ready to fight for her. Elias was a man feared in Baltimore. People scattered when they heard his footsteps. Entire blocks fell silent when his black armored SUV rolled through the streets. But tonight, he was the one trembling. He raced through the city at dangerous speed, letters on the passenger seat like ghosts whispering truths he never wanted to hear. His mind replayed Naomi's words she never had the courage to speak out loud. He had built an empire with blood and brutality, but he had never built a home. And now he feared it was too late. Their marriage started like a spark, unexpected, fragile, blazing with possibility. Naomi had met Elias at her community outreach program. He was there donating money to soften his public image. She didn't know he was the city's most feared crime boss. She just saw a quiet man with sad eyes and a heart he refused to let anyone touch. He married her within months. Everyone said she was the light he needed. But light can't reach a man who keeps the curtains shut. Elias loved her. He truly did, but he didn't know how to love without fearing it. Every time Naomi reached for him, he froze. Every time she asked questions, he shut down. Every time she cried, he called his men and left the house. Not because he didn't care, but because caring made him weak. And weak men die in his world. So he hid behind walls of silence until Naomi stopped knocking. The night Naomi came home at 3 a.m. was the turning point. Elias remembered everything clearly. The jingle of her keys, her soft footsteps in the hallway, the faint scent of warm cake, and her smile, small, tired, and pretending nothing was wrong. He should have asked where she was. He should have held her. He should have begged her not to walk away from him quietly. But he said nothing, because silence was the only language he spoke. She whispered, "Good night, Elias." He replied with a nod. A nod. The kind of response you give a stranger. She cried into her pillow that night. He heard her. He stayed silent anyway, because he didn't know how to fix something he never learned to build. Naomi had found work at Maple and Rye's Bakery, a cozy little shop on Hanover Street. The owner, Mrs. Delia Wilkes, was sweet but blunt, and took Naomi under her wing instantly. Naomi learned how to knead dough, decorate pastries, and breathe again. She found safety in flour and sugar, peace in the kitchen's warm glow. Baking became her therapy, mixing pain with hope, folding grief into something sweet. Mrs. Wilkes noticed the sadness in her smile. "Baby," she said one day, "you're baking like someone trying not to fall apart." Naomi paused her whisk. "Maybe I am." Mrs. Wilkes squeezed her shoulder. "You don't deserve to live in silence, sweetheart. You deserve to be seen." Naomi blinked away tears. She didn't know how to explain that she stayed because she believed Elias was worth fighting for, even if he didn't fight back. Jada was the complete opposite. She didn't sugarcoat a thing. When Naomi admitted Elias barely spoke to her anymore, Jada almost threw flour at the wall. "Girl, leave that stone statue. You married a man who communicates like a broken radio." Naomi laughed through tears. "He's not a bad man, Jada. He's not a present man either." Jada wasn't wrong. Naomi just wasn't ready to let go. Pastor Lorraine always knew something was wrong. Every Sunday, she used scripture like a weapon while staring Elias dead in the face. "Let not the sun go down on your anger," she'd say, eyes narrowing. Or on your silence, she'd add under her breath. Elias pretended he didn't hear. But her words haunted Naomi every night. Elias finally arrived at the bakery. It was closed. Lights off. Chairs stacked. He pounded on the door until his knuckles bled. He didn't know Naomi wasn't there. He didn't know she had taken night shifts to avoid crying in his presence. He didn't know she chose 3 a.m. because it was the 1 hour she could walk into a home that didn't feel like hers anymore. He didn't know because he never asked. A security camera flickered on the corner. A man stepped into the alley behind the bakery. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an apron dusted with flour. He locked the back door behind him. And that's when Elias realized Naomi never came home alone. And for the first time in his life, the Mafia boss felt his heart stop. Elias Kwan had stared down gun barrels, survived assassination attempts, and negotiated with men who bathed in violence. But nothing terrified him like the sight of another man locking the bakery's back door at 3 a.m. The man was tall, built like someone who lifted bread trays and broken hearts for a living. Flour coated his hands, his shirt, even his beard. He looked warm, comfortable, human. Everything Elias was not. Elias gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. His breath hitched as the man pulled out his phone and texted someone who texted him at 3 a.m. Someone like Naomi. For the first time in his dangerous life, Elias Kwan felt replaceable. His name was Micah Reeves. Assistant baker. Night shift. The kind of man who remembered birthdays and asked people how their day was and actually cared about the answer. He often stayed after hours to clean the shop, prep dough, and walk Naomi to her car. Not because he wanted romance, but because he saw what Elias ignored. A woman quietly falling apart. Micah never made a move. Never crossed a line. But he became something worse than a threat. He became a safe place. And safe places are dangerous to men who keep their wives in emotional famine. Elias slammed his car door and approached the alley like a storm wrapped in human skin. Micah looked up and froze. Elias wasn't just angry. He was unraveling. "Where is my wife?" Elias demanded, voice sharp enough to cut steel. Micah swallowed. "She left early tonight. She said she wasn't feeling well." The answer wasn't wrong, but it wasn't enough. "Why were you with her at 3 a.m. last night?" Micah blinked. "Because she asked me to stay until she felt safe. The neighborhood gets rough." Elias grabbed him by the collar. "You think I can't protect my own wife?" Micah didn't fight back. Didn't flinch. He just sighed. "With all due respect, sir, maybe she didn't need a bodyguard. Maybe she needed a husband." The words hit Elias like a bullet. He let go. Stumbled back. Breath shaky. Micah straightened his apron. "I'm not trying to take your place. I'm just filling the silence you left her in." And for the first time, Elias saw what Naomi had seen all along. His silence wasn't strength. It was abandonment. Elias remembered the very first night he made Naomi cry. They had been married for 3 months. She cooked dinner, her mother's recipe, hoping to impress him. He came home with blood on his shirt, exhausted, angry, carrying the weight of a war he never asked her about. She asked if he was okay. He said, "I don't want to talk." She said, "But I do." He stared at her. She stared at him. Then she whispered, "Do you even see me, Elias?" He didn't answer. He went to shower instead. When he came out, she was wiping her tears at the sink, trying to smile so he wouldn't feel guilty. That was the night she learned how to hide her hurt. Elias stepped back from Micah, chest tight. Did she ever talk about me?" he asked. Micah hesitated. "Every night." Elias's heart lifted, then crashed. "But not the way you hope." Elias swallowed hard. "What did she say?" Micah softened. "She said you weren't cruel. Just closed. She said loving you felt like praying through a locked door." Elias's face fell. Micah continued quietly. "She said she stayed because she believed the man she married was still in there somewhere, buried under fear." Elias's vision blurred with a shame he didn't know he was capable of feeling. "She defended you even when you didn't deserve it," Micah added. "But she's tired, sir. Tired of carrying the marriage alone." Elias nodded slowly, strangled by the truth. His enemy wasn't Micah. It was the man he had become. Just then, Elias's phone buzzed. His right-hand man, Rocco, never called twice unless something was wrong. "Boss, you need to come home. Now." "Why?" Elias whispered. Rocco's voice dropped. "It's Naomi." Elias's stomach twisted. "What happened?" "She fainted at the bakery earlier. Mrs. Wilkes and Jada brought her to your penthouse. She left something behind." "What?" "What did she leave?" A long pause. "Her ring, boss." Elias nearly dropped the phone. Naomi Carter Kwan, the woman who waited, prayed, hoped, baked, cried, stayed, had taken off her wedding ring and placed it on his desk. Silence rushed into Elias's world like a knife. For the first time in their marriage, Naomi wasn't walking away quietly. She had stopped showing up. Elias drove like a madman through Baltimore's streets, tires screaming against the pavement, heart pounding harder than any gunfight he'd survived. Naomi fainted. She left her ring behind. She walked out of the silence, at last. The penthouse lights were on when he arrived, something Naomi always did when she wanted the home to feel less cold. He stepped inside, chest tight. There she was, curled up on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, eyes closed, breathing slow. Jada sat beside her, arms crossed, burning a hole through Elias with her glare. Mrs. Delia Wilkes stood behind her, concern etched on her face. And Pastor Lorraine was praying under her breath, Bible in hand, side-eye full and sharp. No one spoke. Not until Jada stood up, walked straight to Elias, and pointed a finger in his face. "Congratulations," she said softly. "You finally broke her." Her words hit harder than bullets. Before he could respond, Pastor Lorraine closed her Bible with a loud thump. "A man's silence," she said, "can be louder than any sin." Elias swallowed hard. "Is she okay?" Mrs. Wilkes shook her head. "She's exhausted. Emotionally, physically, spiritually." Jada added, "And she's done, Elias. Done begging you to love her out loud." He closed his eyes. Pain sliced through him, raw, unfamiliar, deserved. Naomi stirred. Elias froze. She blinked weakly, her eyes meeting his. For the first time since they married, there was no warmth there. No hope. No shy smile trying to fix everything. Just a quiet, heartbreaking emptiness. "Naomi," Elias whispered. She looked at him, really looked, and whispered back, "I can't keep fighting alone." Elias's chest caved in. He dropped to his knees in front of her, hands trembling. "Don't leave," he said, 3 words he had never spoken in his entire life. Naomi shook her head gently. "You don't get to say that after years of silence." "I know," he whispered, "but please give me one more chance." Her eyes softened for a fraction of a second, until she saw the letters on the table. The letters he found. The letters she wrote. The letters he never answered. Her voice cracked. "I begged you to see me. I see you now," he said, voice breaking. "It took losing me to look," she replied. He closed his eyes. Guilt crushed him. Jada handed Naomi something, a folded piece of paper. A letter. "Read it," Jada said to Elias. "It's the one she never had the courage to leave." Naomi tried to protest, but Jada shook her head. Elias unfolded it. "Elias, I love you, but love without presence is just pain. I don't want to leave you, but I don't want to disappear beside you either." His hands shook. Tears burned his eyes. Tears he hadn't shed since he was 14. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry, Naomi." She looked down at her bare finger. "I took off the ring because I couldn't feel married anymore." The room felt colder. Elias took a long breath. "I was afraid," he admitted quietly. Naomi blinked. "Of me?" "No. Of needing you." For the first time, he said it out loud. "I grew up in a world where caring gets you killed," he continued. "I thought loving you loudly would make you a target. I thought pulling away was protecting you. Instead, I hurt you." Naomi's eyes glistened. "And Micah?" she asked softly. Pain flickered across Elias's face, but he nodded. "I was jealous. Not because he wanted you, but because he gave you what I didn't." Naomi looked down at her hands. "Kindness shouldn't feel foreign in a marriage, Elias." He swallowed hard. "You're right." Mrs. Wilkes cleared her throat. She taught Micah how to bake her mama's sweet potato pound cake. That's why she smelled like it. Elias looked at Naomi. "You were making your comfort food," he whispered, voice trembling. "And I never asked why." Naomi wiped a tear. "It was the only thing that made me feel like myself." Elias stood, pulling something from behind his coat, a small, slightly burned cake wrapped in foil. Naomi gasped. "You made this?" He nodded. "It took me 5 tries." Her lips trembled. He placed it gently on the table. "It's not perfect, but I made it while thinking about every moment I failed you. Every night you cried alone. Every letter I ignored. Every time I chose fear over love. Naomi's voice cracked. Elias. He met her gaze, finally, truly. I want to show up for you now. Every day. Every night. Loudly. Fully. And I will spend the rest of my life proving it, if you'll let me. The room fell silent. Pastor Lorraine, Jada, and Mrs. Wilkes stepped out quietly, giving them space. Naomi stared at her empty finger. Then at Elias. Then at the slightly burned cake. Her breath shook. I'm not promising forever, she whispered. But I'm willing to try a one day at a time. Elias's eyes glistened. That's all I ask. Naomi reached out, hesitant, fragile, brave. Elias took her hand like it was the first time, because in many ways it was. And just like that, the rebuilding began. Slow, tender, imperfect, but real. A marriage rising from silence, one heartbeat at a time.